Good afternoon, good morning, bold pivot agents, wherever you happen to be. Today, we're going to give you a little what we call a bold niblet. I've got Molly D'Amatos with me. You all know her. She's a high energy, smiling face on the bold pivot page. I'm Denny Grimes, Naples, Fort Myers. Molly's from the beautiful city of Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm behind the scenes responding to many of the responses that come back. And we, like other bold coaches, want to add value to you other than just through the bold pivot and bold pivot online presentation. So we're going to do a little niblet for you today on some things that might be helpful to you. And it basically has come from the chat that was going on behind the scenes. So Molly, I'll let you take over right now, and you've got some things you'd like to share with them.
Yeah, so one of the things that you all commented on quite a bit that we've seen here and there is, okay, is there just a general way to handle objections? And the great news answer to that is yes. There's a wonderful technique that we want you to take some notes on now called the AEIOU. No, sometimes why. AEIOU technique for handling objections. So I'm going to run through that real quick, and then Denny and I can role play it real quick so you can see what it actually looks like. A stands for ask questions. A stands for ask questions. So what you want to do anytime there's an objection is you want to ask questions first. Get at the real issue by asking more questions, investigating. You can ask, can you tell me more about that? Or what about that is important to you? Or how did that come to be, et cetera, et cetera. The E stands for empathize. And just for those of you, if you'd like to, you can just look along in KWU materials called Win with Fires. 2E is called empathize. So of course you want to empathize. Let them know that they're not the only people on the planet who've ever had that kind of feeling or had that kind of thought. So you want to acknowledge their concern, acknowledge that objection by saying something like, I can certainly understand how you feel. And we'll show that in a second anyway. There's a spin-off. It's like the Friends spin-off of that for a script called Feel, Felt, Found. And we'll cover that when we get to that part in the role play. 3, the I is identify the real issue. Identify the real issue. So a lot of times with our filters in our minds, sometimes we think it's price, yet if we don't clarify that, it may not be price at all. Or with a buyer, it might be that they don't want to come to the office because of time. Yet if we don't ask, it could be, in fact, that they don't have a car and it's not on the bus line. So we really need to figure out. So I is identify the real issue, restate what you believe the real issue to be. Then O, offer a solution. Problems always appear insurmountable until you know how to solve them. So if you offer a solution, then a lot of times you can overcome that objection simply by being solution-based. And then finally, you urge an agreement. Use those tie-down statements like you know so well, such as, would that work for you? Don't you agree? Can you see how that would benefit you? Any tie-down question that's going to support a yes answer is what you're looking for. So Denny, let's have a little fun with this. We're just going to roll right through AEIOU. I'll jump in and out of the role model. Let's just say you're a buyer. This is a very common objection, particularly in a market where things are moving quickly. Buyers tend to not want to meet at the office first, which is where we know we can provide them the most amount of value. So we're on the phone already, and I'm saying, great, Denny, these are all wonderful questions. I'd love to meet with you. I'm available today at 2 or tomorrow at 1. What's better for you?
1 o'clock seems fine. If we can meet right at the house, that'd be awesome, Molly.
Yeah, that's great. And absolutely, I'll set the appointment. I'll make that request to see the house at 1. What I'd love to do is meet at the office first. So can you come to the office at 1 o'clock and then we'll go from there?
I don't really have any interest in your office. I'd really like to see this house, Molly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So tell me, what's important to you about getting to the house first?
Well, it's kind of on my travel pattern. In fact, I'm not even quite sure where your office is. However, this home I want to see is right around the corner from my office. And I figured I could run over there at my lunch hour and take a look at it.
Well, I can completely understand that. You're not the first person to feel that way. So I want to make sure though, Denny, this is about convenience for you. Is that right? Is this about convenience more, or is it a little more about saving time?
Yeah, it's convenience. And, you know, I don't see why meeting in your office is germane to me looking at the house. I mean, this market seems to be moving pretty fast, so I want to get going on this.
Yeah, it is, Denny. You know what? And you're exactly right. That's exactly why we should meet at my office just for 15 minutes first. That way I can get all your ducks in a row. If this is the house that you want to buy, then you'll be in a position to get it before someone else does. And that is what you want, right, Denny?
Yeah, I've already lost out on a couple of homes already, Molly.
Yep, and I know that feeling. I don't want that to happen to you again. So let's meet at the office for just 15 minutes or so. We'll get our ducks lined up. If you want to make an offer, my team can be working on it while we're in the house still, and we can move forward. So 1 o'clock at my office, or is 12:45 better?
Well, I could just tell you that I'm attempting to want to give you some competition here and not just be a total laydown for you. However, the way that you do that with your high energy, your awesome acknowledgement, you all see how smooth she was, not making me feel bad about it, and bringing it back to what was important to me, because my concern was getting the house. I mean, a lot of buyers right now, I mean, our job isn't finding the house for these buyers anymore. It's helping them own it, right? And she's taking it right back to me. And I wanted to resist. However, resisting didn't feel logical to me because she gave me a logical reason to meet at the office. So that was awesome.
And so thanks, Denny. I appreciate that. And some of y'all might say, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Well, how many years have I been practicing this? I'll tell you, because this is my very first book that I learned this in. Tony DeCello taught this technique to me back in 2009. So I've been internalizing and practicing that script for 11 years. So don't compare your insides to my outsides. Just get to work, practice, asking questions, empathizing, identifying the real issue, offering solutions, and urging an agreement. And that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Well, what I really like about it is the fact that this AEIOU is a question-based conversation. And Gary talks about us having a question-based conversation. And even Molly and I were talking before we went live about what Gary said as he introduced Bold last week. It's not about us making the sale. We are presenting information to them. And again, everybody buys or sells, NAR says within 10 years. And so if they want to wait, that's totally up to them. We're making a touch out of a contribution. And if they like to go forward, awesome. If they like to wait, that's the best decision they're wanting to make for them. Awesome. We made a touch. We'll be in business, Lord willing, when they're ready in 5 years or 5 months.
That's exactly right. Gary Keller said it pretty easily. Whether they say yes or no is inconsequential in that moment. You're strengthening the relationship. And when you stay in touch, minimum 4 times a year, voice to voice, text to text, reciprocating conversation, when they are ready, they will think of you.
Beautiful. So you had another chat that came through. I think somebody asked you a question like, how do you handle someone who basically is not showing a lot of motivation or et cetera? So I prepared a little role play and some scripts for the agents. If let me just go to my share screen here so people can take a picture of the scripts, that would be awesome.
Great.
So I too believe in asking great questions. And let me just start by saying this. There's no such thing as a bad questions. There's good questions and great questions. Let me demonstrate the difference. And this isn't rehearsed. This is totally live. Molly just sat down about 10 minutes ago, right?
Literally.
So, Molly, I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't know the answer to it. However, what month were you born?
April.
April. Now, that is a good question because I learned something. Did Molly learn anything? No, I have a feeling she probably already knew she was born in April. Now, a great question is when you ask them the question and they learn something and I learn something. So watch this. Molly has not been prepared for this question. So Molly, take April out of the equation. If you could be born in any other month other than April, what month would you choose to be born in?
I've never thought of that before because I love April so much. I guess I would choose October.
Well, now, what's interesting to this, because it's not rehearsed, her eyes went up, she started to think, went, it made her think. A great question is when you can ask your buyer or seller a question and they learn something and we learn something. Because here's the thing, Bold Law says logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. And there's too many sellers and buyers that their emotions are overruling the logic and making a decision now, because Gary says this is the best market for sellers to be in, right? And so if their emotion is locking their wheels where they're not moving forward, the way to overcome that is you have to give them a couple of scoops of logic. And you do that by making them think. Remember, logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. Their emotion has frozen their wheels. So when you ask a great question, they're going to go, think, and when they speak the answer to you, it literally leaves their lips, goes in their ears and in their brain, and it helps counterbalance maybe an emotion. And if you're working with a couple, sometimes it's an amazing what will happen, Molly. They'll just look at each other and say, you know what, that makes no sense. So I'm going to give you a few scripts that you can use when you are attempting to figure out if the client is motivated and ready to move now. I think every conversation, particularly in a changing market or a market that's a little bit uncertain, should be what I call the meat thermometer. Listen, if anyone were lost that you cared about and they were to call you and say, look, I'm lost, I don't know where I am, your first question is, well, where are you? Where do you think you are? As we start with buyers and sellers, this is the first question. To get out your phone, take a picture of this, because here's the thing. Based on your opinion of the market, Molly, let's just say you're a seller. Based on your opinion of the market, hey, listen, there's no right or wrong answer. Do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
Well, from what I've seen all over the news, I think the market's in my favor right now.
All right. So now there's no bad answer. At least you know where they start. If they thought, well, hey, look, I think it's working in my favor now. However, I'm afraid what might happen in the future. Now you know you may have urgency on your side. Let me ask it a different way. Now you're a buyer. Molly, hey, listen, no right or wrong answer. Based on what you think is going on in the market in your price range, do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
I think it's going to be pretty tough to find anything under 250. So I don't think the market's in my favor at all right now.
So therefore, what you're saying, Molly, is acting sooner is better than acting later, correct?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying.
So did you bring your track shoes with you? So you're just finding out where they are. Again, it's just asking, like Molly says, great questions. Now, going into the urgency, this goes back, we might do a role play here and really fast, is when someone calls in on something, particularly Facebook leads, many times they're shopping early in the process. They may or may not be ready. However, how do you find out where they stand? So Molly, this is the 1 to 10. We teach this in bold. This is a 1 to 10 for a buyer. I've just added a couple of words to soften it. So let's say, Molly, you're calling in on a property and we're having a conversation. Now, again, when it comes to call-ins, the whole goal is to set an appointment, not to qualify too much over the phone. You can get them, like Molly did a masterful job of getting me into the office, right? Sooner or later, she would have had an in-depth conversation about my motivation, qualification, etc. Let's assume that you're at the office. So Molly, so I can mirror your motivation on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning you've just started looking for a home, and 10 meaning if you found the proper home, that special home. Notice I didn't say perfect. Take perfect home out of your vocabulary. It does not exist.
Doesn't exist.
Where do you find yourself on that scale, Molly?
Well, I'd probably put myself around a 7 or so.
Now, here's the thing. This is the important thing. Don't even ask the question if you don't ask the second question, and that's this. What would it take to get you to a 10? Because what is a 7 for Molly could be a 4 for somebody else. It doesn't mean anything. This is the information you want. In fact, Molly talks about it. Identify the real issue. This is the I. So what would it take to get you to a 10, Molly?
I probably just need to understand my what I can afford. I haven't spoken with a lender yet. As soon as I have a good handle on that and it fits in my budget, I think I'd be a 10.
All right. Now, what's interesting here is where Molly has a AEIOU, which is awesome. I wrote it down. I'd not really heard that before. I have the mental picture of always unload your car, then unpack, right? And the strongest script in the sales language is 3 words. Well, okay, I understand. Other than that, is there anything else that would have to happen to get you to a 10?
No, I feel pretty confident. I'm ready to go. I don't want to wait any longer. I've been throwing away my money in rent too long.
All right, so now you might be at the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. However, you notice you have to layer the questions. Many times, several things will come up. Again, really quick, I'll let you, this is the same script for a seller. Hey, now you're a seller, Molly. Hey, listen, so I can mirror your motivation on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 meaning you're just considering putting your home on the market, or 10 meaning you're ready to list with me today. Where do you find yourself on that scale?
We're probably around a 5.
5, awesome. There's that, like, empathize. That's awesome. Like, you really think it's awesome? No, I'm thinking, I'd rather you be a 9 or 10, right? Awesome. Well, let me ask you then, what would it take to get you to a 10, Molly?
Well, we would sell if we could get the most money for our house.
Now, before you start drilling, remember, you don't go to the grocery store and get a car full of groceries and take 1 bag in and empty it and go get another bag. Here, you need to hover a little bit and make sure you get everything. Oh, I get that. Totally. Well, other than that, here's the script. Other than that, what else has to happen?
Well, I guess we better figure out where we're going once we make all that money.
Well, absolutely. You do want to know where you're going. Okay. Well, and now I'm taking notes. I really want to understand your situation, Molly. So I've got a couple of different things on your mind. But what else would have to happen to get you to attend?
Well, I guess that'd be it. If we've heard we can get top dollar for our home right now, so we want to take advantage of that. If we can figure out where we'd end up, I think we want to do that so that we don't miss the height of the market right now. We're hearing a lot of buzz, and we're going to sell our house within the next 3 years, regardless. So if now's best, we want to do that now.
Well, that's awesome. I can tell you, Molly and I have just given you some scripts and 2 models to follow, all question-based, not making statements. Quit talking, because when you're talking, or telling, you're selling, and when you're selling, you're pushing away. And get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. Get to Uncle. Make them say Uncle. That's it. That's all. Now, like a surgeon, you can go to work. I hope you've enjoyed this little bold niplet. We'll see you soon.